This is our town.
Welcome.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 192 of Value Town. I'm ChanmanV. That's Gaara. Raven's joining us today. What's up, Raven?
Hey man, I'm good. I finally got some time off now after the crazy flurry of playoffs into champs into BlizzCon, which was me just flying back and forth between the UK and America, which was a lot of fun. But I'm home now for at least over Christmas, so I'm doing pretty good.
That's good. So the whole off season being in December, does that still even exist? Because I remember a few years ago I just stopped for Hearthstone because there used to be Seed Story and all these different tournaments. Like even DreamHack was during December at some points, right? Is it still like that or no? Or are we seeing actually a break in the Hearthstone season?
So I think there's a couple of tournaments that are coming up. I'm not sure if they've officially been announced, so I don't really want to say anything. Okay. But I ain't casting them. I'm staying home over Christmas, so I don't care. But there is a couple of things coming up, but it definitely dramatically quietens down because tour stops will just sort of slow down now because it's coming up to the end anyway of the seasons. There's only the last playoffs and champs to go before we move on to Worlds. So everything winds down over Christmas normally, although there's a couple of things to keep going.
That's good. There needs to be a break, man. Can't have too much, but then again, we haven't had too much to talk about in the last couple of weeks because of this lull period before the reveals and BlizzCon. So can't wait for stuff to be announced. But in terms of the events, I think we've seen a ton of events so far. So a break would be nice. But we were just talking about something else before we get into all this Hearthstone talk. We're talking about movies and previews, and first off, Rip Stanley, just obviously huge loss there to all the comic folks, and everybody loves all the Marvel movies. But also, what was announced was a Pokemon live action, or kind of live action. It's like live action CGI-ish.
First of all,
whatever, whatever you call it. Anyways, Pokemon movie. All right, live action movie. All right, so your thoughts on that before we start talking Hearthstone. What do you guys think?
I want to start because Raven is super excited about it.
Okay.
I'm dreaming about something like this that since I'm basically, I think, 6 years old or something. So basically my entire life, I was imagining as a kid, how would real life Pokemons look like? And this trailer came out of nowhere, completely out of nowhere. Nobody expected it. And the community seems to be so shocked because it looks actually good. Usually whenever they do something like this, it looks horrible. And it would be better to not do anything like that. But it looks good. Super exciting.
Yeah, so similar to Gaara, I played Pokemon Red was my first. Yeah, I got a Game Boy and played Pokemon Red was my first, super early console. And I love Pokemon, but it's the fact that I used to look at. I don't know if you've seen them, but there's been artists who have done realistic Pokemon pictures of what they would look like if they were actually live animals.
Really?
But yeah, and I'll send you some, man. They look incredible. Some of them look scary because they're well, if this was a giant turtle, it would look fucking scary, sort of thing. But the best thing about the film confused me. The trailer was very confusing. I didn't know what to feel afterwards because Pikachu, spoiler alert, talks.
And
English.
Not only does he talk, he's Ryan Reynolds. Okay, he's freaking Deadpool.
Deadpool crossover.
Man.
So that part of it, I was like, oh no, what have they done? I was genuinely worried. But I watched the trailer a couple more times. So I was like, nah, this is the hypest film ever. Because not only, a big part of me doesn't care about the story of the film. But
I think most people don't care about the story,
right?
Be honest.
But when you see glimpses of how they've built the world, it's insane. There's a Charmander uses his tail to help his chef, cook street food or whatever. And there's the Jigglypuff with a mic at a shit, bar that just stops, and you see her or him get angry, and you just this could just be the best thing ever. Charizard's there. I mean, fingers crossed. Poliwrath and Blastoise are in the film. That's all I really want to say because
Blastoise better be. He better.
I
be.
need Blastoise in there. It's my favorite Pokemon.
Totally.
Fingers crossed.
Okay,
But yeah, it looks it. I will say with Gaara though, it looks very funny. If you like Deadpool humor, it looks like he's got it. You see that with the Mr. Mime portion, but also like graphically, fair enough. Like it looks great.
Yeah. So for me, okay, so I'm on. I'm in the same boat where it's like the first time I watched the trailer, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
Like seriously, I can't even like process this. So you have to watch it a couple more times to really get a better sense for it. So I mean, I think I'm definitely going to go see it. I think that I don't know. I think everybody's going a little too crazy over it. But for sure the animation looks cool. I definitely think like Pikachu and everybody they did a really good job with the animations there. I kind of wish it did look a little more realistic, at least some of them. Pikachu's okay, but some of them I kind of wish, looked a little, more real. That would have been
I will
cool.
say as well, in trailers, a lot of the time some CGI isn't 100% finished in a lot of the trailers as well.
Yeah.
So maybe they look better. But also like the main thing is that if this is well received, we will get more.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I want more Pokemon films with great animation, like crazy stuff happening. Like I want more. So as long as this is good, even if I don't enjoy it as a film and as a story, if it leads to a single one more Pokemon film, sign me up. I'm in. Easy.
Yeah. So the crazy funny thing I think will be great. I mean, it's going to be successful, crazy successful because of the style is going to be written. I just wish they didn't cast Ryan Reynolds. They should have just gotten anybody else. Like just get anybody else. They didn't have to, or just a random person that would have been better than Ryan Reynolds because it's going to be distracting. Like I know it's Ryan Reynolds. He's got one of those voices. Just know that's him.
For me as well. Every time they've given because in some remakes of some of the films and stuff, they've given Pikachu a voice.
Yeah.
But the voice has always kind of matched the way Pikachu says Pikachu, right? Like the kind of high pitched sort of thing.
Yeah.
The fact it's Ryan Reynolds, and I've heard it, now it just makes me think that there's like, the way people say you never know who you're talking to online on video games because someone who's acting like a girl could be like a big 200-pound black guy maybe I don't know, right? And all it makes me think is like little Jigglypuff with like the deepest like heaviest like manly voice now, and I'm like this is maybe ruining my Pokemon experience because this is just weird. Hearing Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu really threw me off. So strange.
So anyway,
every Pikachu in every future Pokemon
he's just Ryan Reynolds.
He has to have the voice of Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, they were like, my Pikachu is actually a female, and it's just still Ryan Reynolds. You'd be like, what? Oh, it'd be so funny.
Yes, it's not the same.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's definitely gonna be super. I mean, super hype when it comes out, and I'm sure we're gonna see some more trailers as it gets closer. But who knew that a Pokemon movie would be super successful? I mean, everybody knew Pokemon movie would be super successful. So kudos to whatever studio ended up in the
past with like Dragon Ball movies,
right?
Well, Dragon Ball's different. Dragon Ball's not quite as big as Pokemon, obviously, but
I think it's.
Really?
I think the big difference is
bigger.
Every anime that's had like a live action adaptation has always felt like it's been made on a budget. And then when you throw the Pokemon company at something, well, they ain't doing shit on a budget, are they? You know what I mean? They have like unlimited money to just say make this film. Because you look at even Full Metal Alchemist, even like Death Note as well. Like all those just feel like they've gone, well, we've got about, a few $100 to make this film. Let's go.
Well, it's not just that. It's not just that.
Oh,
they've like
Death Note one.
They tried to make it like serious and stuff. That's the thing about this Pokemon movie. It's like I'm happy that they're just going just full balls out, just comedy, because whenever you see those animes that are in a live action film, they're always serious and they're usually martial arts related to in some way. Some of them are. It's like this is god awful. It's like don't even try. There's
a reason it was an anime, right?
Right, exactly.
It
doesn't translate
well
to the exactly. Yeah. So, anyways, it's going to be awesome getting a chance to see that. But this is not a movies podcast. This is a Hearthstone podcast. So let's kind of get over to Hearthstone. We had a couple or 3 cards to be exact released this week. a few, interviews. We had a WESG also as well over the weekend, and just a few things here and there, and a card reveal schedule too. So definitely going to talk about that. Also, we're gonna talk about the artifact event too, even though this is Hearthstone, but really just comparing just how the event was to just a Hearthstone event, and what we kind of see in terms of maybe some parallels or even just big differences. And at the end, going to do some Q&A, so have your questions ready. You can type them in the Twitch chat whenever we get to that point, or you can go and tweet us at ValueTownGG, and we'll definitely read those out. But this week in Hearthstone, guys, you guys do much? Like, I know, Gaara, you were playing in the artifact tournament, so I don't know how much. Didn't do too much there. Raven, how about you? You end up...
I've actually been playing a lot because
cool.
I'm at the point now where I've gone very 50-50 in my approach at the moment. I think it's because we're pre-expansion right now.
For sure.
We're waiting phase. But a side chunk of me now has kind of really got interested in what seems to be the modern way to stream Hearthstone, which is a lot of the Americas players are doing, which is just co-op streaming.
Co-ops, yeah.
It's super interesting. I was in one last night with Firebat and Admirable, then Zalay. But it's super interesting to watch, really interesting to be a part of, and just makes the game, no matter what deck you're playing or where you are on ladder, like just it gives you a different angle on the game, right? You talk about things you wouldn't think about if you were just sat on your own playing. So it's definitely cool. And I've been playing a lot of weird decks as well. I basically just try and find the strangest but successful decks and try and play them. I generally suck because some of these decks are very strange. Yeah. But the one I've been playing today is another Egg Paladin list, the Mech Egg Paladin, but it hit rank 1 on NA, EU, and Asia. Real bad one.
Yeah, it's a super good deck.
Wow. This has had proven performance, and even with me just hashing stuff together about 10, 12 games today, I think I'm like 6-2 or 6-3, which, don't get me wrong, isn't a crazy sample size or a good set, but it's not 0-8 or anything like that, right? I am winning games and seeing how to win games, and it's
not too hard. I mean, it's very powerful, I guess, is what your point is, because even if you're not like the most skilled at it, you can still win right now. Okay.
Yeah, and it uses a Shrink Ray, which I think is an undervalued card right now. Maybe because Paladins are all aggro in general, but making everything just 1/1s, and then you obviously play Pyro. It's like a slightly more expensive but second quality, which isn't a bad thing when you play the control list. Yeah. Like 4 qualities in your deck seems good. But yeah, it's really fun, and I kind of like control Paladin. I feel like Paladin should be a control deck.
It's been a long time since we had a control, like a legit control Paladin. I mean, when was the last time? I mean, was it back when Rag was around? Like Light Lord and...
I think it was the Light Lord and also the Quartermaster days, if you could call that control. It did go late game, but it did have Quartermaster, so I don't know. It was mid-range to control, I guess. But yeah, the double Rag was a cool list.
Yeah, that was years ago. I mean, that was like probably over 2 years ago, possibly. So for me, I've actually been just running all kinds of just weird even shamans. I like.
How'd you make a weird even shaman?
I don't know. It's just like the Ike in me is just like going nuts. So just literally trying every 2 4 6 drop and seeing how it goes. It surprisingly does well, just because I think just even shaman just is a decent deck right now. So just a little bit of that. Just again, still waiting, patiently to see when the new cards are going to get announced and whatnot. So
their announcement schedule does ruin me, though. It annoys me a little bit.
All right,
they announce, they announce and then stop more or less for like 2 weeks, and that hurts me. I want them to announce and then give me cards. I want to see everything. Right, so the stall moment we're in now, where we've had like a card or two, but I want like 2 to 3 a day, every day somehow. Even though those numbers do not add up.
So remember that there was like, I don't even remember when it was. I think it might have been Kobolds and Catacombs, but it was like 4 straight weeks of reveals, right?
Yeah,
and it was amazing. Like, it was awesome. Reddit was literally a new card. It's just. All the threads were basically about new cards, and it was just had separate discussions for each card, and it was like really, really awesome. Then they just lately been doing this 2-week thing, and I agree. I don't love it. You know, like
I feel like they lose hype.
Yeah,
it's very. I don't know. I think they gain a lot because this expansion just looks cool. Looks quite different. They've got some of the themes around it that look cool, but then it just and now nothing for 2 weeks. You know, well, 2 weeks is a pretty long time for people who've been waiting for expansion for months, right?
I mean, we don't need 2 weeks to absorb all the videos that were made, you know, or take a look at a graphic of a card and talk about it. So, I mean, maybe a week, but less than a week would be probably ideal. You know, like 5 days.
Let everyone get home from BlizzCon and get settled, and then then start announcing.
Exactly. Okay, so Gaara, you pointed out something about the dates. So the dates seem to be very, very in line with something else. So the dates I'm talking about, by the way, are these card reveals or these official schedule. It starts off on the 19th and ends on the 28th. So it starts off the 19th with a stream with Peter Whalen and Regis Gilbin, which is really cool that Regis getting a chance to do that. And then it's going to be ending with Dean Ixar and Brian Kibler, you know, doing this final just dump cards, you know, in our face kind of thing. So Gaara, yeah, what's about these dates are very interesting.
Well, on the 19th, Artifact is gonna go open beta, so that's like a very big date for that game. And on the 29th or 28th, that's the release of Artifact. So
that's why we have to wait. It's because they wanted to match dates up with that. Exactly. Okay. I mean, touche, man. It's like I've been, you know, wanting the Hearthstone team to show us that they, you know, are acknowledging competition. You know, like show us that you're going to do something to compete with these guys. And so at least this is, you know, I feel like this is the first time I'm actually seeing, you know, a little bit of gamesmanship here, you know, from Team 5. So
what's really funny is I personally don't even think the crossover is that heavy as well.
I don't either, but you know what I mean.
The potential player base, but yeah, it is the correct business decision. Let's be honest, right? Like, it is the correct. If I was running Blizzard or head of Team 5 or whatever, I would do this as well. So this makes sense.
Well, so that begs a good question, because you know, one thing I always wonder when I get into my car, you know, I'm driving around, is like, man, every single radio station is playing a commercial at the same time. You know, so I always wondered, well, you know, they obviously do this on purpose, right? But what if they didn't? You know, then the station that's playing music is going to get all the listeners at that time, right? So I don't know. Is it smart to kind of like do this kind of thing, or is it better just to like wait for a lull period and just announce something? You know,
the worst part is you still go through every station in the hope.
I know
that they played a particularly long song, so you can catch half of it, like the end of it.
Right. But yeah, so it's going to be, you know, pretty interesting. You know, I think that obviously the launch of a game is probably going to be a bit more hype than just, you know, seeing the cards, you know, for the very first time. But, you know, I definitely props to them for at least showing that they are paying attention to big competitor dates. Okay, so why don't we, let's see, maybe go through the news here. So we got a Reddit interview with the devs. You know, we got a chance to do, or the HSReplay and myself got a chance to do an interview at BlizzCon, but Reddit also did an interview that had maybe one or two things that seemed to stick out, which was, let's see, the first thing is that spirit cards will be available in Arena. I think we might have mentioned that last week. It seemed like the expansion was very inspired by Battle of Azeroth. Surprise, surprise, given that it's such a big theme in World of Warcraft right now. And one thing that they said that they did learn is that build-around cards are just way better when they're easier to obtain. And that makes sense, right? I mean, you know, having cards, if you actually want to have an impact, right, just on deck building and stuff, more people need to have it. So I think that's why you're seeing like a lot more cheaper and, you know, less rare cards, you know, that are going to have a large impact. You know, things like the spirit cards, you know, for instance, are you know, rare cards, and I think they're rare cards, right? Yeah, I believe they're rare cards.
They're rares, yeah.
Yeah. You still have the champion that's legendary, or the Loas that are legendary, but the spirit cards,
gotta be Summit, right?
Yeah. But the spirit cards are pretty impactful in the beginning. Probably more so in the beginning than the end. So having those be very accessible, I think, is good. And then they let's see, what was the last thing? Oh, the other thing is that they're not opposed to bringing back older keywords like Highlander and Cthulhu and Inspire. But lastly, there are going to be pirates. We already noticed like one or two pirates already, but they won't all be cheap though. So it's not going to be this pirate warrior type of archetype that we've seen before. Which, to be honest, like have we ever had a mid-range pirate Gaara? Like I don't think that's ever existed really. So. I mean, can it even be good?
Like, where do you draw the line? We had like some pirate aggro, like warrior decks that were slower, that also still play the pirate package. Does that now count as a mid-range deck? Like if you played the dragon package,
like Dragon Warrior,
yeah. Oh,
is that
okay.
a mid-range deck? Is that an
I mean,
aggro?
it played like, what was it, a 6-mana 6/6, like.
Yeah.
Sometimes Gromage and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that wasn't like it was hard to say that was a pirate deck. That was like that was as much a dragon deck as it was a pirate deck.
There were so many decks that just randomly played Patches and South Sea South Sea Captain at some point.
Yeah.
Like even I remember like Big Spam Mage. They were like random decks suddenly just playing.
In the beginning,
Patches
I remember.
deck.
Patches literally
because
played
it's
and everything.
the strongest free throw.
Pirate priest.
Oh,
with Kaliseth and thingy. Right?
is there pirate priest? Really? I don't even remember that.
And I
It
think
was
also,
no. It had the 2/2s that gave +1/+1.
yeah, but I think the spiteful decks also ran Patches.
Yeah. Yep.
God, did they really?
Because it's the
I don't
best free
remember
throw.
that. Yeah.
And if you played Kaliseth as well, so then you pulled a free Patches even
Yeah.
in.
I think though, cards like the I've not learned the names yet, so I'm sorry, but the Cannon Barrage, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Like cards like that make the idea that there can be later game pirates pretty interesting, or later game pirate cards at least, because that's like 6 mana, right? But deal 3, then additional 3 for every pirate on the board, or every friendly pirate.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that's what it does. Like that's just like a cool card as far as it makes you think about when you want to play your pirates. Maybe it's not just chuck them all down early on and hope for the best, because it's 6 mana, right? It's you've got to have a plan to stick them on the board. I think it's pretty cool.
Right.
So the slowest pirate we ever had was the parrot captain.
Captain
7 mana.
Sky Captain Krag.
Was that even played in any deck?
No.
I think yeah.
No. It was played. No, it was played at one point, like super early on.
Someone may have actually put it in a deck once.
Yeah, I remember that card. A lot of people thought that card was going to be a problem, and
that was like the slowest pirate ever, I think, right?
Now you have Rush, and like every freaking beast and its mother are like rushing now, or any mech and whatnot is rushing. So it's not as big of a deal.
I mean, the whole pirate concept is also based on the whole charge meme, I think, as well.
That's true.
But I think they're going to change it. I think they're going to change it to this cannon. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see another cannon style card, because they don't want to release more charge, right? That's pretty straightforward from them now. And they don't want tons of charge cards. So I think they're going to build more synergy and have more like, you have your sort of crew of pirates, so then you gain these bonuses or something, like Cannon Barrage. You have enough pirates to shoot each cannon, which does more damage. Things like that. I think they're going to go that way, because one good thing I could say about tribes is that I feel like they've learned a lot from pirates and murlocs and mechs, I guess, from the old days, specifically. I think they went a little bit too restrictive on mechs for Boomsday. I think they didn't make them strong enough because they were scared. But that then led to there just no one really playing mechs for most of the expansion, which is a shame. But yeah, hopefully pirates, they hit the sweet spot this time.
I want to see I really wish that there was a cheap cannon, that then they would have that whole positional aspect of the cannon, kind of like the single player was, like some of the PvE stuff was with the cannon, in Witchwood. Was it Witchwood? I believe it was like one of the heroes, right? Or the champions. And I wish they would do that, so that the cannon would just be cheap, so you can get it down on the board, because you're obviously going to pay a price, like having to get value from the cannon. But I feel like that's a great way to introduce that positional thing, to Hearthstone even more. And there is a very clear, cost versus reward, with something like that too. Or this current cannon is just like it's random, but it's like three damage random. It's pretty darn good. Like we can go anywhere
multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times too. So it's
and the best thing is it's rogue, right? So you just prep it.
Right.
Like we were joking about even rogue. So you get your dagger on 1, you play the 2/2 on 2, swing on 3. Swing, and then swing on 3 to get 4 pirates. Then prep barrage for 4 times 3 damage with the pirates on board too. Like stuff like that is just something already you could do. Yeah. I don't know. I'd like a pirate ship, like a 0/5 for 2, and then it deals X damage a turn based on how many pirates are there to like man the ship. Stuff like that would be kind of cool.
We need a water board is what we need. Screw this land stuff. we need an actual board that's completely aquatic. That would be amazing. And Murlocs get plus something in them.
Oh my god! You want to go full Yu-Gi-Oh on this game? Just break it. Well, now we're in a graveyard, so all my zombies get plus 1 million damage. I win.
Exactly. That'd be amazing.
That's like a great YouTube channel that I watched. I forgot the name of it. Which features the best custom-made cards from the community, and there's really some great design cards. And I wish
crackers.
Oh, really?
Some very cool ideas from the community. Yeah, like they basically pick all the best ones and the most realistic ones, and like the latest video has already cards featured with the new mechanics, like overkill mechanic. There's like a card that inflicts damage to yourself. Warlock has like a lot of cards like Flame Him that does damage to yourself. And there's like one card that has like 5 damage that deals to yourself, right? And Overkill summon Jaraxxus. And that's actually so cool. So if you manage to
Overkill, and then it replaces you as Jaraxxus, or Jaraxxus shows up on the board?
Yeah, like stuff like that.
Yourself.
So
cool.
There was I played
I
played the brawl they had available at BlizzCon, and there was a card type involved that I wish was in the expansion, but I'm pretty sure it's not. But they were shrines. Yeah. And at the start of every game, your class, you started with a shrine, and this is the bit where it's busted, right? So you start with this shrine on the board, and they're all different for each class. So the warrior one was a 0/8. And its attack was equal to your armor. And you played stuff like Bring It On. So you bang 10/8. But the armor reduced its attack. And also, if it could be targeted like a minion. But if these shrines died, then they go dormant for 3 turns, then come back. Right?
Wow. Okay.
You can kill it, and then it takes up a space and does nothing for 3 turns, which, right? And like I said, if it was in the actual game, it should probably cost mana and not start on the board because that's OP. Yeah. But like the Warlock one was any damage dealt to yourself on your turn is dealt to your opponent instead. So Crystallizer was in the deck and stuff. So just 1 mana, 1/3, deal 5 to your opponent. Spirit Bomb, deal 4, deal 4. The Paladin one was a shrine that gained any buff that you placed on a different minion, which was awesome because you just play Lanessa deck or something. And like those ideas were cool because it's something on the board that your opponents have to deal with or consider at least.
Yeah.
And then, but if they do get rid of it, because some of them, they all weren't 0/8, some of them like 0/4 or 0/6.
Yeah.
If you got rid of it and killed it, then it just doesn't exist for 3 turns. And I think that could be really cool if you had to pay mana for it to be on the board.
Yeah,
then like that. It's a kind of cool objective style gameplay,
right? Which we are going to see, right? Shrines and the shrine and all that stuff. So, in the PvE stuff is coming up. That's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Okay, well, let's see. Another bit of news here we got is WESG. So, surprise. Just saying, it's going to be wins another, at least a mini tournament. He's going to be representing the US in WESG. But, just shows that he's the best player in the world right now. And he just definitely keeps on rolling. When is WSG? When is the final tournament? Do you know? This tournament sneaks up on me like literally every single year. I know nothing about it until it actually happens.
It genuinely is one of the most poorly organized, advertised, and ran tournaments I've ever seen.
With the biggest prize pool.
We hit the biggest prize pool.
I think it's the second biggest prize pool in like the world. Maybe apart from Chinese tournaments, sorry. But like in the general scene, second biggest prize pool, right? And it's for so many different games. It should be huge. And yet for example, the qualifiers were done by community casters, basically. Most of the
Yeah.
qualifiers were done by volunteers. There's the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that they're bad by any means, but look at the prize pool and look at the rest of it, and also the website 2018 WSG. You click on results and it links to the 2017 results. So no one can really say who won what apart from the people who won them. And saying, because we know saying.
I mean, there's a bunch more too. Like you represent, their regions and their countries.
Well, I do know Justine won the female Americas, I believe.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, Justine won that one.
But honestly, outside of that, it's my bloody job to know. This is the worst part.
Me too.
I couldn't tell you who's doing well apart from saying, I actually don't know. I tried to find it and couldn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I will say it's not all over yet. Like some of the European countries and stuff are still playing, so there's still bits going on. So it's not finished, but they make it hard, and they shouldn't. Like it annoys me. But people didn't even know about the qualifiers. The players didn't even know where to sign up, and it's like, with no players, there's no tournament. What's going on?
You were going to play in it, right, Gaara?
Yeah, but then it ended up being on the same day as the Artifact Preview Tournament. And this is like the only qualifier I'm looking for, like for the entire year, because it's like the second biggest prize pool. You play one qualifier for every region, for every country. There's only one qualifier, and only first place advances.
It's the same with Fino, right? Fino didn't play and played in the Artifact tournament. And it's like the thing is as well, like you, Fino, these are people that can qualify. It's not like random players are like, I can't play in it, whatever. It's like these are people who can like win and go and play in the grand final for like billions of dollars or whatever the hell the prize pool is at the end. And like the fact that it's hard to play in as a player, and not because of the difficult player pool, but because it's literally hard to find the website to sign up to.
For it. That's pretty bad.
It's mind-blowing to me.
And the hardest part about that was, because last year, for example, usually like roughly, because it's like every year, that by the end of October there were the finals, and the qualifiers happened like at the beginning of October. And this year, the beginning of October, no qualifiers. So nobody knew who to even ask. Like, when are the European qualifiers? There's like no announcement.
So what you're saying? What you're saying is saying just one because he was the only participant, basically. 10,000 free, $10,000.
I mean, but honestly, that's one of the more serious issues with the female tournaments they run for every game. There've been regions or countries or however they name the splits that like 2 people have turned up or 1 person's turned up to play auto qualify. And like that's obviously more of a problem because there's just less female competitors that actually sign up for these tournaments. But why is there less? Because no one knows.
Yeah, exactly.
No one literally knows this is happening. Because I'm not being funny.
You can't be an event organizer and not have your sign up be just blasted.
Yeah, if you could say to someone, someone who just plays Hearthstone, they try and do well on ladder, they follow the scene a bit. You said, look, you just sign up to this, you've got like a 20% chance of winning money and going to China or wherever it's held. You know what I mean? It's like,
of course you are. You're going to spend that time and figure it out, right?
Just sign up.
Yeah. That maybe this is the new type of tournament now in Hearthstone. It's the challenge is actually doing the diligence of how to sign up, and if you can get past that, then you're halfway there. That's
because it makes me look bad as well. Because I'm supposed to know who's winning what, who's playing in what, when are these and like it's so hard to find out.
Dude, if you look at some of the HCT qualifiers, there was a big part of the like entering the tournament and
was clicking.
Yeah, signing up within the first 2 minutes when it shows up.
It's like buying BlizzCon tickets or something. Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we move into talking about the new cards? So 3 cards were announced this week, and only 1 class card this time, just a warrior card, and then 2, neutral cards here. But we start off with the warrior, which is a 6 mana rare spell, heavy metal. I like the kind of pun there. And summon a random minion with cost equal to your armor, so up to 10. So it's got this kind of type of effect, which is obviously a card that I've loved to try to play, many times in the past when trying to play Recruit Warrior or any of those things, especially when, Yep first came out, but, hasn't been good since. So I haven't actually revisited Yep since then. But what do you guys think about this standalone as a spell? And it's a rare card too, so it's not like that rare. It's not that, it's pretty common if you want to actually play a couple of them. So.
It's a common rare card.
Common rare legend. No, yeah, exactly. So what do you guys think as a spell? Is this going to work at all or no?
Like, if you could play this in Baku Warrior, I think this would be probably playable. But the biggest issue is that this is an even card, and Warrior doesn't actually have any more that many ways to generate armor except you play Baku Warrior. And so I'm not too sure that this will be too playable. Like, this would be an insane card if you would get like a 8+ mana cost minion on turn 6. But it seems in a realistic scenario very, very difficult to get that much armor once you get to play this card for 6 mana. So I don't think.
Hey, move your mic a little closer, man. It's being a little weirdo again. There you
go. Funnily enough, like, there is something to consider of Even Warrior when you can play Armor Smith, you can play Bring It On, you can play this, you can play Yip if you want to really run with the theme. So and squeezing in 2 armor every turn, it's not as good as just 2 mana gain 4, of course. But maybe you could still run cards like oh my god, 2 mana Whirlwind Repeat Echo. What's it called? Two mana Echo
Warpath.
Warpath. Yeah.
God, wow! It's been a while since I talked about a card of Warrior that wasn't odd. So you can play Warpath. There's Armor Smiths. There are cards. I think my worry is it's been so long since Warriors really needed minions for anything that.
Yeah, why do we need it
in
now?
this expansion? Probably not. I don't, unless something crazy happens, because 6 mana play a minion, or just like 6 mana do remove a minion. You know what I mean? Like, just remove some of your opponent's minions and wait for your super late game or something. I don't know. Maybe Dead Man's Hand as well is something to consider, that this generates minions and can keep generating you more heavy minions late game. I don't know, but
Also, when you look at Recruit Warrior, do you really need this? Like,
right, you can
enough threats already.
Exactly. Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah,
I don't think it's good enough. Honestly.
I do like the ability to have more, just more cards that have this effect, because the one thing with Yep, just speaking of playing it, is that there was only one of him, and it was such a major part. It was supposed to be the late game card, for Warrior at the time, and I was like, I wish I had another one of these, just to kind of maybe fill out a big Warrior type of deck. So having this, it kind of feels, it feels like it might be something. Like, it feels like playing a big priest, with one of those kind of the 6 manas, summon something, right? That's 5/5 or whatever. It feels like Warrior could have something like that, for a big Warrior. But there's
definitely something to be said for redundancy in a deck, right?
Yeah,
like, you want more of the same thing in general.
Sure. Yeah. Ironheart. Actually, somebody mentioned Ironheart too. Yeah, Ironheart's really cheap, and you can at least get some decent value immediately, right?
But it's like a 1 mana card, right? So you would need to play like a control.
The issue with like Control Warrior is just the early game. It's like, if you care about your armor, or retaining armor, that's tough, right? Because you either have cards that just like remove the board and remove your armor, or you're just getting hit. So it's definitely really tricky to balance that.
Crystallizers, let's go.
Crystallizers, yeah. Okay, so next thing we got here is Ticket Scalper. It's a pirate, like we were mentioning before. But there's gonna be more pirates in this expansion. 4 mana, 5/3, and it's a common card. So overkill, draw 2 cards. Wow, that's pretty hard to. I guess it's probably gonna die and get 2 cards. Basically, it's generally.
What I couldn't see or find out yet is if the opponent trades stuff into your guy.
Only on your turn.
It's only on your turn.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you have to attack. Is the way overkill works.
Yeah.
So it's not so good.
No.
Well, I think like
no.
So the 5 attack almost always guarantee overkill, right? If we're imagining a long curve play, right? 5 attack on 4 is pretty high damage.
You're
So you're probably going to overkill if you get to attack. And then if you get to attack, the card to me is insane, right? You play Pirate deck and you get to kill a thing and draw 2 cards. Like, that feels strong. The biggest question, of course, is does it ever live? And that all depends on other Pirate cards. Like, South Sea Captain, if that's stuck to the board, then that makes it 6/4. Then that's suddenly a very powerful 6/4 overkill draw 2. Like, that's very powerful. But it is, as with a lot of judging a lot of single tribe cards, it's respective of what happens, right?
It shouldn't have been a 5/3. It should definitely not have had 3 health. Like, I would have taken a 4/4. I would have, like, it would have made more sense to even have that choice. As a 5/3, you're going to get traded with like most of the 3 drops.
It would have to have 3 though, right? If it had 4, if it was a 4/4, it would just be too strong because it would be a 4-mana 4/4 draw 2 cards.
I was first skeptical about this card, right? Because it looks bad. But if you play this in a new Pirate curve deck, right, and you play South Sea Captain, and South Sea Captain sticks for whatever reason, just because the opponent runs out of removal, you coin out a Hedge Tillager or Hedge Thug that has to be killed, and you have a Captain, and then you play this guy afterwards, then it's suddenly a 6/4.
Gaara does not listen to me because that's word for word what I just said.
Oh, really?
Yes, I literally said that exact sentence about 30 seconds ago, and you were like, "Nah, it's bad. It's bad." And now I'll say it with an accent.
It's just because it's your English accent, man. It's like,
I was thinking about like, when is this guy good? I was saying.
Okay, all right.
That's funny.
Okay, yeah, but so buffing it at 1/1, Kelazeth or not Kelazeth, whatever.
But another thing is that we know as a fact there will not be patches, right? People were joking about this, but there's no way they will.
No, I hope there's patches, but it's just nothing like what it was. It was just a meme card. It's just like a 0/1 dies at the end of your turn, pulls out if you play a pirate. I'd love it. It just appears on the board, then just dies, and then goes away.
But for this to come back, I feel like we need a very powerful, maybe not patches, but Buccaneer. Something like Buccaneer. That would probably be enough to.
You need to control them, or a weapon, for example. You can kill their drop and play a 4.
Yeah, but okay. So, yeah, I mean that I think that all those things would be good. It's kind of, but circling back to this, right? It's like, I mean, I still don't think it's going to be.
I think for me, the shining light is the 5 attack will overkill something. Almost certainly, because that's a very high attack. And drawing 2 cards is very powerful.
Wait, but if he dies, that doesn't matter, right? If you
he can die. He can die.
As long as you kill, you're attacking. As long as you're attacking.
Drawing like if you ever get this effect, drawing 2 cards is insane.
That's what I'm saying. Like the effect is very, very powerful.
It is great, but it just all depends on, like, whether this card is played or not. Depends on how, like, what percent of the time it's going to trigger.
Yes.
Right.
Like, it feels like this card is really missing like Rush or something.
Well, that'd be too
Rush would
easy.
be OP.
Come on, that's like guaranteed.
It feels like you look at the card.
If it was Rush, it would have to be a 3/3.
It would be broken.
It would have to be like a 3/3.
I would run it in every single deck if it had Rush.
I don't know something.
Screw pirates. I'll just play it as a card.
I would literally play this in every single deck if it had Rush.
I know, it feels just incomplete. I don't know. Because it is supposed to be an aggressive card, but it's not. It's kind of like a good magma.
This isn't even limited to 2 cards. You have to remember that. It could actually be 4 cards. It could be, I mean, it could be a ton of it. That's why it definitely shouldn't be Rush or Charge. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Right now, a 3 attack, 3 drop is like common. So if you guys are right that the +1/+1, buff is going to hit this card a lot, then okay, different story. Because I think the 4 health is the magic number. If you can get to a 4 health, then we're talking, like 50, maybe even higher than 50% chance that that it can stick, and and it really will impact your opponent's play like by a lot. Forget the two cards; it's going to affect what they put on the board, right? Yeah. No more silver.
They have to kill it.
Yeah. So, from that standpoint, it's intriguing for sure. The overkill draw 2 cards is really cool. I just hope we get a chance to see it.
What does it compete with? Like if we look at Aggro Rogue, what is the 4 drops? It's
Minstrel, right? Well, okay, in aggro rogue. I'm naming rogue
Because-
4-drops. It's
yeah,
like mainly
because-
minstrel.
Right now we
Which-
only play Baku Rogue, and obviously we don't have
Hmm.
4-drops in that. But there's nothing like that.
Again, I will just say, remember that if we're even talking about Baku again, the depth of cards it looks wonky because you can't play odd cards in even rogue, for example. So you play even pirate rogue. Well, there are only so many good even cards you can play, right? We've seen stupid cards be played in even decks because there are no others. Look at the 2-drop scenario right now. There are no real good 2-drops outside of Keleseth, but look at even Paladin when it plays like the Troll and stuff like that. Like, that isn't a great 2-drop, but it's as good as it gets. So maybe that's just a card that is as good as it gets. Because you're not playing the Nerubian in like an aggressive rogue, right?
Yeah. Okay, well, definitely an interesting card to that discussion.
Definitely potential because of the tag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the last card we have here is a 2-mana 1/4. It's a rare card, Belligerent Gnome. It's a taunt. Battlecry, if your opponent has 2 or more minions, gain +1 attack. So kind of resembles Wormrest, just back in the day, just the dragons, if those of you that were playing Hearthstone back then. But I think that you don't actually get the benefits from this until like you're at a disadvantage on the board, right? Or at least it's kind of, I feel like it's meant to do that. It's meant to be buffed whenever you're potentially in danger on the board. But it's actually a 1/4 taunt, worst case, which historically I think has been pretty good, at least like in arena, and at least in that format. I'm not sure how this would work in standard without synergy, but what's your take on it?
I think so one of the problems with Wormrest was that it gained taunt from its battle cry and not naturally. So sometimes you were playing a 1/4.
Right.
That's it, right? Whereas this is imagine however good a Stonehill is versus an aggro deck as a minion, not its battle cry, and then imagine that on 2. I think it's pretty good. I mean,
just imagine Odd Paladin. Just playing against Odd Paladin, and you throw this card on 2.
Even though like Zoo, this buys you like 2 turns with Zoo, and kills Flame Imp sometimes. Like what this card does is if it ever exists in any deck, it makes the aggro deck have to think, wow, do I want to play more minions? It's like, well, yeah, you're an aggro deck, of course you do. But then the second they play this, it's like, well, now I've just created this awkward situation for myself. Like I said, this farms Flame Imps. This farms Zoo early minions, right, pretty well. And that's just one of them. Never mind you turn 1 or turn 3 plays to follow up with. Like, I think this is just good, mainly because it has worst case scenario, a taunt applied to it no matter what. It's not battlecry dependent.
Well, it's a taunt plus you have 4 health. I mean, the 4 health is It's awesome at 2 mana. So
it's a Stonehill on 2, which sometimes you ain't playing the Stonehill for that discover. You're playing a Stonehill to put something in the way of you not dying soon. Right. Even late game, it's a 1/4 taunt. 4 health is hard to just clear off easily, like we discussed about the Ticket Scalper, right? Yeah.
So early taunt's going to be just abundant, like with the Belligerent Gnome and Tark Reapers, and just even Stonehill if you want to do that. Gaara, what do you think, man? You think this is?
It's like
super good.
I don't know how to feel about this card because I see very like split opinions about it. Like that we had similar cards like this before, like the Cartoon one. The 1/4 that gives you Cartoon taunt, and it saw 0 play, but it didn't have taunt, the card itself, right?
Yeah. No, it didn't.
And also we didn't have Odd Paladin.
Yes. Like the effect is definitely interesting. Another interesting thing is you can get this guy from Stonehill Defender, right? So another buff to Stonehill Defender. That's definitely what we need.
Also as well, for example, you've got to consider, especially when you get cheap taunts like this and early game taunts, is like a Quest Warrior as well. Like this is probably solid because not only is it good on 2 against aggro, it's good late game because it costs you 2 mana to give +1 on your quest. Sick. Yeah. Like people are taking the 0/7s or whatever just because they're cheap to play. Like this is probably just good no matter what portion of the game you're playing Quest Warrior. So just got to think about the everything when you think
for sure. And it's also a card you could play in even Warlock as well. Like if you don't want to run
play 4 Homunculus, why not?
Yeah.
I
mean, depending on the meta, it's not even that much of a joke. People are playing double ooze right now in even lock. Like play one of these instead, right?
True.
Yeah, you really have to think about, okay, like 1/4 is not super horrible, like you said, but sometimes you will have the 2/4.
And that's sick.
No, in a defense, like when you're not, a tempo deck or any kind of aggressive deck, like for sure you're gonna have to. As long as you don't coin this out, you're going against an aggressive deck, you will have that to attack.
The only problem is like when you play against a non-aggressive deck, then this is like a 2-mana 1/4, and that super sucks. So and then it will come down to like how much does that hurt you?
Yeah,
it does. But then also as well, depending on your own deck, it could almost do a job of Tar Creeper, where we might see it in. Look at this in Taunt Token Druid, right? Like it still might not be bad in terms of defending aggressive pushes, for example. Like Tar Creeper is also bad against control decks, but it also defends the rest of your board quite well. So
I don't know. I feel like with that point, that's no different than any kind of removal card, or
right.
It's worthless. Brawl's worthless against other control decks. So I don't know. For this, as an aggro type of mechanism or mechanic or just a card, I feel like this is a better way to kind of fight aggro instead of things like spreading plague. Like I definitely want to see more of these type of cards and have aggro decks have the ability to maybe receive some other types of mechanics or whatnot to maybe up the power just a tiny bit. But whenever we can't do anything until like late mana or whatnot, then aggro is always going to have to be the same exact power level forever.
And but like I think we will definitely see this card in a deck like Quest Warrior, because
it's got synergy.
Because you play a Quest turn 1, you will be already behind versus aggro, and this brings you kind of like immediately back.
Because and also, like I said, even late game, you draw it. If you've still not done the quest, it's just a cheap quest tick. And also, again, worst, you can use it for stuff like brawls.
I mean, is this
things like that? It's just, and that I think this card in Quest Warrior is just good at every single point of the game. Better in certain, of course.
Also, from Stonehill Defender to have like cheap taunts, just to spam.
This isn't a Quest Rogue thing, is it?
Probably not. I think Wax Elemental just does a better job, right?
That's a good point.
I think so. Yeah. Not that I'm a Quest Rogue expert by any means, but.
So another interesting card, and it's not a class card either, and it's pretty easy to get. So I think this one will be much more played than the Ticket Scalper. At least we'll probably see this one a lot more. I
think this will be just an easy card for people to just throw in a deck early on, right?
Yeah.
It's like, do I want a 2-mana 2/4 taunt in my deck? Yes. Like you're done. It'll at least like Gaara said, maybe people try it in Evenlock, maybe people try it in Quest Warrior. It's just you can see the benefits very clearly with this card, whereas the Scalper and Heavy Metal are a bit like, maybe. Whereas this is just like, well, it just does what it does, right? And those things.
It's pretty good in Shaman too, actually. Especially you get the Flame Tongues down next to it. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, that's 3 cards. We're gonna get a bunch of more. We're gonna have a ton more cards in the next week. So it'll be, hopefully we will, maybe toward the latter end of the week we'll get a bunch more. So you can expect more cards next week, guys. But those cards, by the way, were in the raunchy videos. That are I guess official Hearthstone videos from the team. So definitely check those out if you haven't seen them, because they're super great. And I love how they're revealing the cards too. Like that one card was like flew into his face, and then he like looks at it or whatever. It's they're super creative over there. So good job.
Oh, was it in the last expansion? I mean, like
no, the last videos, like the
last video.
Yeah, the videos where they're revealing some of these cards. It's like really funny to see how
they're really funny.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to Artifact event. All right, so this is going to be an interesting discussion, given that Gaara competed in it, and obviously Gaara's a big fan of Artifact. Just as you guys have listened to the show,
spoilers.
Know that. Raven seems to be on the opposite faction here, which is going to be very interesting. And I fall, between the two of them, but I would say I fall a little bit closer to, where Raven is, just like favoring Hearthstone a little bit. So,
haters.
Yeah, haters. Okay, let's talk about the event. So the pre-reveal event, the event that BTS had this past weekend. had a lot of the big names, all the good players, just in this this closed beta stage, right, of where they were. So a lot of people that don't know, Valve's been holding like these tournaments for a lot of closed beta folks, just so they can test like the tournament, just whatever their esports format's going to be.
So they can buy their affection.
Yeah, that too. But so they've been, there's been players that have gotten good at the game, just like even early on. And, Gaara even mentioned, being a little bit late to the party, but obviously catching up as quickly as possible. So we had all the best players basically playing in this tournament. And, BTS had the whole, couch and, analyst type of setup, and live coach was there, Hyped was there, Savitz was there, and, tried to really set up this kind of professional scenario. So that's why it's worth talking about just on Value Town, is because, this is the first time we're seeing an actual artifact event done, in a professional way. And, seeing the game from a spectator standpoint, for the first time. And I think it's good to talk about. So let's start with you, Gaara. As a player, like how was the tournament, run and everything? Like, was it super smooth on your end?
As always, like the artifact admins, and this is not like to be biased. I always have to like mention that for me, there's no point in like talking up one game over the other, because I don't get paid by these companies. Like, I played Hearthstone for so many years. I have no reason. Like, I have no reason to dislike Hearthstone just for whatever reason. Like, I
think what's key, sorry to butt in, is that people seem to not understand that humans are allowed to like more than one thing at a time, right? It's always like, well, if you play Artifact, you must think Hearthstone is the worst game in the world now. It's like, or you can just like to play games.
You log into a new game, it's like, oh, did you quit Hearthstone? Yeah. It's like, did you quit? Honestly, like the admins, I don't know what kind of superhumans they have, but there was one admin. There's one crazy admin. He did everything so fast. Like, he updated all the results and everything so quickly. I've never seen anything like that. It's like the Valve admins. Oh, I don't know who these people are. If they're working with Valve or if this is like from.
It's probably BTS folks. I mean, they run a tight ship over there. So
this is crazy.
Except for day one. But I mean, definitely the admin sounds like, they've run a lot of tournaments, so I'm not surprised that the admin is
super good job. And yeah, like, why was it run so smoothly? Well, we have an in-game tournament mode in Artifact, and we are using that, and that does everything automatically. So as soon the last match finishes, the first match of the new Swiss round starts. So we don't need people to fill out stuff, and
so how does that work? So the people in the next round just stand by at their computers and just wait until like, what do you mean by that? Like,
in the current version, they listen to feedback as well a lot. Valve is, so the developers, there's like you get a chat room when the tournament mode is like, you sign up for a tournament, like you click at invite link, whatever, and then you're part of a tournament, and then you know when the tournament starts, and as soon as the tournament starts, you click on join this tournament, whatever, then you have the chat room, and there's like a lobby, and there's like 3 different rooms. There's like a support, if there's some issue, like a general chat room, and there's like a player feedback, and when there's like bugs or whatever. And I sometimes type something there, and they're like real developers from Valve working on Artifact. They're like, oh, cool. I appreciate that feedback. And they work on that. And like next week, they have these things changed or improved, which I never experienced ever before. This is so amazing. Right. They actually listen to feedback, but immediately.
Right.
Which is, no, we don't have to wait months or something. Like, I don't know how to feel about that. It's like so amazing.
Yeah.
And so, you have these chat rooms, and in the game, you can see how many matches are still ongoing. So yes, you're waiting at your computer, but you can see, like, you can look, okay, there's 27 matches remaining. So okay, this will last for like another hour, whatever. before the next round starts.
Okay.
Just a quick one. What's the time frame on, say, you went AFK for 10 minutes and your match came up in 5 minutes? Was there like a time frame in which you auto concede if you're not back to like start the game? Because I've not seen any of this because I've not played in it. So
I think this is I think it's 5 to 10 minutes or something.
I'm sure the
like
admin. I'm sure there's an admin that can, like.
Well, it's just the fact that
anything.
if it's a built-in tournament mode, you imagine there's built-in things, right? Like there's not going to be admin sat when the game launches for tournaments, right? Like,
but at these in the first tournaments, the admins are like, I mean, they have like some superpowers. They can like manipulate. Like if some player is not there and they don't want this player to disqualify, they can actually stop it or whatever.
Right. I'm just wondering what it's going to be like if in-game tournaments become automated in the future. Then, like, if you just go, oh, well, the Swiss round happened to have finished earlier, then, like, there's 8 matches left. Oh, I can go make a sandwich. Oh, shit, they all finished in the same 1 minute. Like, now I'm out of the tournament. I just wonder, these are questions I would ask.
I'm sure the automated ones are going to be like that, but there's got to be like a custom one that uses the same engine, uses everything, but there is an actual master admin that can, that start matches and stop, any of this automation.
Okay.
So, so it sounds like from an admin standpoint, it ran super smooth and well. Raven, like, what was your take on just like the broadcast and?
Yeah, so I'll just separate my thoughts on the game.
Yeah. Let's just separate the game. We'll have that discussion afterwards.
There's some crossover because the game impacts the broadcast, of course. But broadcast, it started, and I honestly feel like no one that's done a run of show looked at the run of show for the opening of the day.
Yeah, I thought the same.
Because it didn't exist. And this is no tooting my own horn, right? I suck at this stuff, but they could have shown me the run of show, and I would have said this will be a disaster. Because I've done it enough times now. They opened. It didn't look like anyone really knew. I mean, okay, Life Coach and Swim were on the opening. Life Coach and Swim were there to be asked questions, right? They're like the pros. Right. So this does not include them per se. They were just there to like talks when they're talking.
Be pros, be analysts.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like guests. But the two casters opening, I felt like someone had just put a camera on and said, right, we're doing this tournament. Go. Like I feel like they either hadn't rehearsed, there was no run of show, there was no plan as to what the opening should be, and it literally turned into, I want to say an hour to an hour and a half of let's fill time, and they filled it in very odd ways. They literally said at one point, "Well, we've got half an hour to fill, so how was your Korean barbecue last night, Swim?" And I was like, this isn't even funny. Like, I'm not even laughing. You know what I mean? Like,
they should have just started the broadcast like a lot later. Yeah.
But then also there were questions where, I mean, me and some of the other casters were talking a lot about this because this interests us from a professional perspective, of course. We're not like crapping on Artifact. We're looking at a broadcast of a game, a card game, most importantly, and judging it. But it was just like the whole opening, apart from one very short video, had no graphics support at all. It was 4 people talking, and they were talking about things, right? Oh, so heroes, they have 3 item slots that they can put items in. Why couldn't they have just brought up a picture of one of the heroes so we can see it? Like, that isn't... it's not... people have never seen this game before. Their audience have never seen the game, and they didn't do things like give any visual aids to the people on the desk to help. Instead, they said, here's an hour and a half, talk.
Yeah, let's...
It's like...
To be fair, okay, so to be fair, I don't think BTS has ever run a Hearthstone or, any kind of digital game.
Could they not have just asked someone who has?
I know.
My
I'm just kind of throwing it out there. Okay, so I don't think they've ever done that. I mean, I think this is like their first venture into even just this space.
Card game and stuff.
Yeah, so, definitely going to be growing pains to this. And, given that they obviously threw this tournament to have super hype because it's like the first tournament, yes, they should have spent much more time being diligent about what people expect, and even just look at Hearthstone broadcasts and see what to do there. Right?
They could have, and Hearthstone is no one's done Hearthstone perfectly. I just because
I was there in the very beginning, dude.
Unlike Gaara, Blizzard do pay me, so clearly I'm biased. I'm literally wearing a Blizzard shirt, but anyway, Hearthstone doesn't do it perfectly at all. There's always things we want to improve. Everyone wants to improve on, but they could have just mimicked anything and it would have been better, right? You know, like it just would have been at least some level of better. I know this would be great for you, Gaara, and for a lot of other players. The tournament was a 128-person Swiss. I don't know if that's the correct way to do a launch tournament.
Yeah,
Players are very happy, but the viewers are confused. Don't know why they sat around waiting for the matches to finish. Don't know what's going on. They have to explain Swiss 50 times. Like, you know, especially because I imagine
would have been good. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they had 4 players there that they followed, but then you're wondering why they're not looking at some players. Like, why aren't the 4 players playing each other? You know, like people will think to a certain extent, because I imagine as well they expect a certain portion of viewership to be Dota players and not Hearthstone players or Magic players. So they need to introduce like things like Swiss and why they exist. But I think for a launch tournament, Invitational would have been significantly better received for the viewers. Obviously, the players would love it because they could play in a 128-man Swiss. Perfect. But yeah, like, I don't know.
Strange. I think that your last point there where, you know, you point out like maybe the broadcasts seem to be geared more for Dota 2 players. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. You know, like BTS comes from the Dota 2 community. You know, like they're rooted in there. They came from there. Obviously, they're doing a lot of other different games and genres now. But you know, in the root of all of it is still Dota 2. So I feel like even just like the podcast and things like that are coming from a Dota 2 perspective more than it is coming from, say, a Hearthstone perspective. So
we'll just give a shout out as well, because it sounds like I'm obliterating this tournament. But like Hotbid came in and saved the day. Like Hotbid did. I expect Hotbid's been around for a very, very long time. He saved the day because, again, from a casting point of view, they were casting as if everyone had played the game for as long as they've played the game for. So, for example, I think you did as well, Chanman, but like I got an invite to the private closed alpha or whatever, like 6 months ago, maybe roughly. So like there are people like Life Coach, like Hyped, so on, that have been playing for 6 months. None of the viewers have, right?
Yeah.
And the casters were talking and casting as if everyone knew what they meant.
Well,
no one knew what they meant. It's a new game. You cannot just be like, oh yes, you're just going to pass on this turn, go to the shop, buy this item. Obviously, it's like, no, it's not obvious to buy this item. What does that item even do? Nobody knows.
You know what's funny is that Toast and oh god, was it Crip or was it? I forget. It was Toast and somebody else. Basically had educational streams on the artifact cards happening during the tournament, and people were like saying how much they appreciated that. Crip and Toast basically were doing it. So yeah, I mean, I think the broadcast was missing that. You know, Hotbid definitely, you know, I think rescue it. It's his job, so it was, you know, he needed to rescue it. I mean, he's creative director over there, so you know, he better be rescuing it. It kind of reminded me of like when Frodan rescued, you know, one of those Red Bull tournaments like way back when.
I remember exactly which one.
Exactly. Same thing basically. Hotbid basically did that.
This is also such an interesting topic for me for a new game launch. How casters get into a new game. Like for example, like you mentioned, for that game, for that specific tournament, you really needed like good
dumb
casters.
That shit down.
Yeah, but how do you get like the first artifact casters, you know, like there were no tournaments before.
What are you talking about? Definitely Slacks could have done. I mean, these people have been playing the game. Like they have podcasts. Slacks does a podcast. You know, like Hotbid does a podcast. I mean, they all have been talking about Artifact for months now. Like
the weirdest thing for me was, and forgive me, I don't know who the two people on the desk were, the guy and the lady. I don't know who they are from other games. I've never seen them before in my life, so that's just my bad. But like, there are people they could have got, and Hotbid obviously understood the need of the audience, and I feel like you could pick any two decent Hearthstone casters and said, look, we've got a tournament in a month or in a few weeks, and it's going to be done to cast it like you cast Hearthstone, which is most of Hearthstone viewership is not good at Hearthstone. They need stuff explaining. And that's how a lot of us cast, especially it's how I cast. I explain dumb things that obviously I know the answers to, but you need to explain it. And for a brand new game, it's like I would just ask someone to play the game for an hour and then ask me questions and then say exactly. You know, like that's what the audience will do.
I mean,
so get those questions answered. You know, it's.
Yeah. So
I don't know how that was missed.
So
that felt like
I mean, the casters they chose were not random. I mean, the casters they chose were actually from the community. You know, like these are casters that the community actually like. You know, and they don't have the skills of the Hearthstone casters, like no question. I mean, I can even just energy level. You know, it's just like it was definitely lacking. You know, like during it. So,
but to be fair, before we like continue, like I think on the second day they improved.
It was better.
So
yeah, no doubt. Like I just completely
because Hotbit probably pulled him to one side and was like, "If you don't sort this out, you ain't getting back on the second day." To be honest, like.
I mean, I doubt it was that exactly, but yeah, for sure. Second day, third day. I mean, third day was probably what you would have expected, you know, right from the start. And so, you know, I basically am judging it based on the third day, and you know, the viewership, you know, I think started out like 25K or something, and then by the last day it was like 8K or in something like that. And I think it had a lot to do with the first day. If the first day would have done well, then maybe, you know, they could have sustained, you know, like a 20K type of thing. But
I think one of the worrying things to me, and this is where I lead into the my game criticism, or at least broadcasting of the game itself, is that it's one of the first games or tournaments I've ever seen on Twitch where viewership dropped when gameplay came up. Because there were people in chat that had
really? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, viewership went down once gameplay happened. And there were people, the chat was, there's a certain level of trolling, of course, it's Twitch chat. But chat, there was a lot of people who were like, I have no idea what's going on. And that's the big hurdle Artifact has as a broadcast game, is that I'm sure I've heard enough players say, fantastic game, love playing it, it's great, blah, blah, blah. Right, but if no one watches, guess what isn't going to happen in tournaments? Yeah. And the game is so hard to follow. I've played it a decent amount, and it's still hard to follow. And the fact that we didn't even see most worst case scenarios, such as the boards, minion-wise, can go infinite, in which you have to scroll through the minions. Same as the hand size is infinite, as far as I'm aware. So, like, you can get to positions where, because the combat is opposite combat, they sort of just clash at the end of the turn. You can get, like, clashes happen just off screen. You literally don't see them because the board is an infinite width that obviously cannot fit on a screen. And stuff like that just worries me for the future, because there's got to be combo or setups where gives you like 20 minions on a board, and then you're like, well,
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's really worrying from a broadcast point. How would you? And then, I always think of it as a casting point. How would you even cast that to make sense? So, guys, here's the board, but what you don't see is another 50 minions over there that heavily impact this turn. Yeah. Give me a minute to scroll through. Right, there we go. This minion's impact. But you know what I mean? Like,
so that's okay. To be fair, that kind of scenario won't happen very often. Like, at least from what I've seen of the game and whatnot. At least to that extent that you're talking about. And it didn't happen very often, anyways. Like during these broadcasts, it wasn't that bad.
Right.
One element I will say that I feel like is something people take for granted with Hearthstone is that on combat turns, the math just happens instantly. Damage just happens. Like health just gets reduced, and you don't actually get to see exactly all the actions that happen, right? Even in Magic, Arena, like you see the card actually go and hit, and you actually see a little bit more animation. But that's one thing that Hearthstone does super good about. Like the action is very explicit, and you can actually understand what happened there. And the scenario you're talking about, with the super long boards and everything, that's it. That's another thing. It's just like all of a sudden these cards just die and they don't, and it's like, and you don't.
Even if there's two extra minions off the side of the board, I was exaggerating, saying you have to scroll through 20. Yeah. But if there's two, that's so weird to move through and talk through as a caster. Also, an idea I had to try, because I'm not just sat crapping on this. I want it to be good, because why wouldn't I want it to be good?
You sure?
Well, I am, but you know what I mean. Like one thing I think would be good, honestly, was the way you see like the 3 mini boards,
and people call me negative.
No, this is all just. I think this is
be the negative one this time. Yeah, exactly. But go ahead. The three boards. The three boards.
So you know the way you have the 3 mini boards, right?
Yeah,
the big
yeah.
issue is there are 3 boards. You cannot view them all at all times because the way the game works is you one board at a time.
Yeah.
I feel like they need an almost, if you watch like poker where they say who's favored, you know, like to percentage wise, I think if that was over each board or something like that, so at a glance you can be like, oh, so he's losing this lane that I can see, but the other 2 lanes he's green on. So he's losing this lane, but he's ahead on these 2 lanes. So you have a rough idea of what's going on. I think something like that could be very good for a base viewer. So they at least can follow the idea of, okay, this lane's the bottom half, which would be the bottom player, is red, but the other 2 lanes are green for him. So he's clearly he's doing one of these 2 lanes, but he's struggling here. So maybe his opponent wants to bust one of the other lanes too. Yeah. You know, like that's something you could talk about, and that is a very simple visual thing to implement. And I think that would greatly improve the understanding from a viewer point of view.
It doesn't have to be, I mean, it could be one of 2 things. I mean, if the game doesn't have it, then obviously you can artificially create some kind of scoring system. I mean, this is something I've actually had an issue with even Hearthstone. It's just that the viewers don't know who's winning and losing sometimes, right? And it would be nice, you know, like when poker, they show all these percentages. So it's very clear. Cool, It's very clear as to what situation the players are in. But to your point, I agree with that. And, you know, if it has to be like BTS that does something like that, they can come up with something, you know, like figure out some type of algorithm or formula that derives some kind of score or some type of, you know, advantage, not advantage, and display that. But yeah, so I agree with that, because the 3 lanes is a cool thing. That's like the coolest element of the game, in my opinion. It's just having multiple games going at once, and you just have to win 2 of these things, right? And having the ability to, you know, distribute resources based on how you strategically want to go about doing that.
But that's the whole game, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is the core of the game.
It's the core of the game, and the thing that makes the game unique. Yeah, it's the hardest thing to keep up with as a viewer. And to me, like, that's problem number 1, because you want the viewer to understand why the game's cool. Yeah, and at the moment, it's hard. Like, but yeah, I'm not just crapping on it, guys. Honestly, I'm trying.
So I mean, to talk about the game, so we're always gonna have like really rough things. I mean, I was there in the beginning of Hearthstone doing events, and we had all of our growing pains too, and, you know, spectator mode, showing freaking decks upside down, and
there wasn't even a spectator mode.
Exactly. I mean, we figured. I mean, like, I was there for all of that and figuring that stuff out. So I knew that this tournament would not, you know, would potentially have a lot of these issues, and, you know, it just kind of like, this is what happens when you hype something up, you know, and BTS wanted this to be super hype. So, I mean, they unfortunately just have to be the guinea pig here and try to figure out stuff. Maybe they're going to be the ones that figure it out first. Like, they could figure out just how Artifact should be broadcast, and it'll be a huge benefit to them. But yeah, my recommendations to them, like, overall, I feel like it wasn't terrible. I mean, I think overall mission accomplished in terms of just doing a broadcast, you know, for Artifact and getting it shown. But yeah, the biggest things for format, it should have been invitational, and they just need to, you know, another thing that I noticed is that the cameras are a big factor in Hearthstone. You know, like showing cams, you know, of the players.
I was just thinking this.
And I remember, like, I went through this. Like, I remember like going through this thinking, it's just like the emotions from the actual player is a huge part of showing it. And I don't know if Artifact has the real estate to do that, given everything that has to be on the screen. So they need to try to figure out how to do that, you know, because you know, you need to humanize the play, you know, like the gameplay. And
it's one of the big things I've heard from people who either watch some other, like, team esports like League or Overwatch, where you don't really see player cams all the time, and also people who've watched other sports. Like, a lot of the broadcast crews we work with for HCT don't work, like, the camera guys don't work in esports, they just do this show, right? They work in loads of other stuff, and a lot of them have said, like, oh, it's so cool that you get to, like, just watch the players as they play. And I'm like, it is cool. Sometimes I cast the players' faces more than I cast the game, because sometimes it's more interesting in that how reactions happen. And to your point, I don't know where they put it on the screen, because there's a lot on the screen right now in Artifact.
So
a lot.
That's a big challenge. I think that's a challenge. And then, like you were saying, like, just more, there needs to be just more added production stuff, and it doesn't have to be from the game. It could actually be from whatever broadcast, you know, company or event organizer or whatever. They can figure that out. But you know, first one, mission accomplished. They got to get something good though for that $1 million tournament in a few months or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of work to do there. But you got to start somewhere.
I have a question for you, Gaara, if it's okay, because I've just blabbed on a lot. But in terms of a player point, how did you feel about something we've not really touched on? The tournament was actually a draft tournament, and it wasn't constructed. How did you feel about the fact that it was draft? So draft, for those who don't know, think of it as arena, more or less.
Yeah.
It's like an arena tournament. You build a deck, play out Swiss, but you actually did it twice. There was a redraft, and for a lot of card game players who complain a lot about RNG in tournaments, how did you feel about the tournament being a double draft? Because I saw a lot of tweets where it's like, yeah, my deck sucks. And
Yeah, it's super,
that's it.
it's super amazing that it's a redraft because it counterbalances the RNG. So someone who gets a super OP draft, let's say,
Mhm.
which it will just be like slightly better than average or whatever, will just be a strong draft. They will not get carried through the Swiss by just having this very strong deck because they have to also win with the redraft. So basically, the player who ended up winning the tournament, Joe Larson, he had to go through 3 drafts and he went completely undefeated. He didn't drop a single game through the entire tournament with 3 completely different drafts and different decks. That makes this much, much more impressive. And if you happen to get a bad draft, then you're basically trying to survive the first 3 rounds of Swiss. Let's say go 2-1.
But you couldn't,
Hey,
right? Because if you lose more than one match, you're out.
Guys,
No, you can
let's
go
explain this.
6-1.
Let's explain
No,
this a
you
little
can go-
bit better. Like with redraft, like let's walk through exactly what this format is. Okay, so you drafted a deck, right?
It's very similar to
Yeah.
Magic. If people are familiar with the Magic draft system, it's way more familiar with that than Arena. Because in Arena, you have to play every single card you draft. And in Magic, you will also have like extra cards.
Yeah, you
It's
have
very
an inventory of cards, right? So,
Yeah, and in Magic, it's in Artifact, it's the same. You draft a bunch of cards and then you build the best decks with those cards. You will end up with heroes because that's how you build a deck in Artifact, with item cards, hero cards, and magic cards, whatever. And you decide during the draft which colors you want to go for, very similar as in Magic. And then you build a deck. And according to which heroes you got and how powerful your spells you have and whatever, that's how strong your deck will be. And so yeah, there will be people with better decks and with weaker decks. But that goes like both ways then. To counterbalance that RNG of good decks, after 3 rounds of Swiss, everyone has to redraft a new deck. Again, you go through the entire draft process, whatever. And so people that got a good deck, they don't get carried by their good deck. And people that have a bad deck, they have a chance to redraft a better deck. So I think this is amazing from a player perspective.
Okay. Do you think it needs more rounds then? Because if you lost more than one match in that tournament, you're out, right? So if you had a bad deck and you went 0-2, or even if you went 2-1 and then you cannot lose another match after you redraft for the whole thing, right? Because I think only 6-1s made it through cut, right? 6-1s and 7-0 was top cut, I think, from my memory.
There was one player with 5-2 that goes.
Oh, was there? I thought they were all
every
6-1s.
every 6-1 went through.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
okay. I mean, that's
Because that's savage
it's
for redraft.
yeah,
for drafts as well.
it's really cool. I mean, from a skill standpoint, from having like the most skilled person
And
win the
after,
tournament.
if you get into top 8, there will be another draft for the next day.
It was top 8 single limb. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay,
interesting.
that's just that like I love different formats. I love drafting. I've played a bit of Magic and drafting. That's super fun. But like the fact that if you just my deck wasn't that great.
No, the player
Well-
who wins a tournament is will always be a top tier player. There's no way. There's like no way you
But,
can get.
I
carried
mean,
by
there's
that.
definitely aren't, but the draft does incorporate. It's kind of interesting because it does take into account more skill. Like you have to have higher skill and more well-rounded in terms of the entire game to win the tournament. But at the same time, it introduces an RNG element that would not be there if it was constructed, right?
I think for me, just for this tournament specifically, it's number of rounds bothers me. Because if you lost one match early on or whenever, you're like, well, no matter what my draft's going to be, I cannot lose again because I'm out. I won't make top cut.
Yeah.
Which is like, people complain about that in Hearthstone right now, and that's a constructed deck where you choose your lineup. So I love draft, but I think in general, if it's going to continue being draft, there needs to be more than 7 rounds for 128.
Yeah, but that's how Swiss works, right? Like, since...
Well, yeah, so I don't know if Swiss and this whole redrafting thing is...
But it's the combination of draft as well, right?
Yeah. Oh, I feel like it could be... I don't know. It's got to be reasonable rounds, dude. Like, you can't have this, like, be 3-day, 3-4 day
problem
events.
is because also it lasted so long, right?
Yeah.
It was best of 3 games only, not best of 5. And it already, like, when you were from Europe, the tournament started at, like, 7 p.m. Our time. And the first day finished at 5 a.m. my time. So if it was actually more rounds, I don't know. I would.
Right, but how many rounds did you play day 1? All 7?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a ton.
Yeah,
that's
a lot of rounds. But also as well, like, let's talk about what was average game length for you, like, because some of the games can go on super long, right? Is my understanding.
Like, it was very interesting because there's a tournament timer.
Yeah.
And that's
very generous though, right?
If you play fast, it's generous because after every turn you get a minute
time
added.
bank. Yeah, it's a time
bank.
bank.
It's a time bank. But I'm surprised that some matches were still lasting so long. Right. Like I don't know how these people. I never finished as last. So I was actually surprised, like, how is that mathematically possible that these guys, like, I finished half an hour ago. How are they still playing this series?
I just wonder if that's something they need to look at, because if a 7-round day was 12 hours, similar to Hearthstone, yet those were best of 3s, not best of 5s, then then like maybe they need to look at that timer, because something that worries me currently about Hearthstone and broadcasting Hearthstone is for a viewer to commit to watching one match, they could be there for over 2 hours. Like, potentially. And it's like, that's a long time to watch one series, right? Or at least an hour and a half, call it.
I think one game is like 20 minutes average. So a series would be up to 1 hour.
Really?
But then you only played 7 rounds and you said it was a 12-hour day.
No, one best of 3 is like 1 hour. So, yeah. So that would make sense, right? 7 rounds is like 7 hours.
There's definitely a little bit of,
or
like time in
because
between,
there's like 2 downtimes because of the redraft, right? That also takes like...
Okay, sure.
Oh, yeah, the redraft. Yeah, that's probably an hour in itself, like the redrafting. Logistically, there's some things to work out there too. Yeah, but to your point though, Raven, like, there's definitely some things that I think seem to be on the longer side, and they'll have to figure out like how to shorten that a bit. But that's just kind of what it is right now. Who knows? Maybe Swiss isn't the way to go in the end. I don't know. We'll have to see. But the redrafting thing is pretty cool though. I definitely have wanted just like things in Hearthstone to be just kind of reselect lineups and things like that at certain points, like having everybody just kind of like redo it, after maybe like certain rounds, maybe after the Swiss round going into like quarters or something, they could reshift their decks. And
I keep begging Blizzard to make Worlds like multi-format throughout 3 days. Something like different format every day would be so sick.
Sure, yeah. But anyways, so that was the artifact.
The title will be Master of Hearthstone.
Great.
Yeah. Good.
Sounds good
that could be cool. Yeah. Hearthstone Olympian. No. But yeah, so the first artifact event in the books, definitely a lot of things to work out. I think we can't really judge it quite yet, in terms of what like competitive artifact is going to be looking like compared to just Hearthstone. But definitely some challenges in the games themselves that I think they're going to have to work out, in beta and figure out how to just make a bit more concise, and packaged a bit better. But well, I know they're willing to work on it, so we'll have to see, and I'm sure Gaara will keep us posted on that. But before we move on, we're going to do some Q&A, but I wanted to give a shout out to all the patrons that support ValueTown. If you want to be one of those supporters, go to patreon.com/valuetown and throw a pledge our way. But I want to thank Mike T, our legendary producer, as well as a few others: Ray Down, Bryce L, Vince F, Alex F, Bruce W, Jonathan V, Michael S, Richard G, Chris C, and Michael V. Thanks so much, guys. You guys are amazing. And also, Valuetown is an HSReplay.net show. So you want to find out the best stats in Hearthstone, figure out what deck you should be playing to climb the ladder right now, go to HSReplay.net and check it out. And sign up for premium if you want to use all of our awesome filters too. Okay, Q&A. We've got a Ahmed N, just a regular question asker, has a question. What makes a game good for streaming? Will the paywall of Artifact affect its viewership and streamer community? Okay, so there's always, the talk about Artifact being expensive and just like literally, you mentioned like not being able to be a infinite player, just things like that. Is that going to affect the streaming success of this game? In y'all's opinion?
I don't think it'll affect the viewership of streamers, if that's the question, because I feel like a lot of people who watch games in general, but also games like Hearthstone, don't necessarily play them that much, but enjoy watching them. There's a lot of even sports like that. Most sports people don't play, but they enjoy watching. So I don't think it'll affect it too hard. I think it will impact player base quite dramatically. People who consider or think that Hearthstone's going to become a dead game because of a $20 buy-in and then a purchase of every single card you will ever get is going to make Hearthstone go away is a very interesting opinion. But I think streaming, I think it'll be popular as long as the game is interesting to watch. My question is it broadcastable as a game in general, not so much as a streaming game? Because is it too hard to keep up with for a viewer? I don't know. We're going to have to find out.
Like with my more than 2 decades of experience in gaming and esports, I really wonder if the success of a game comes down to just marketing, because I've seen very great games completely fail.
Absolutely.
Just because nobody knew about them.
No, dude, I used to develop mobile games for a living and, was very much into the whole marketing and advertising and everything in the mobile space. And there are, probably 1,000 great mobile games that get no downloads because people just don't know where they are. You can't discover it. People have to buy ads, and the ads are completely nabbed up by all the big players, right now, just the Supercells and the just Kings and all those type of
and then you get a game like Flappy Bird that gets billions of downloads and it's shit.
Flappy Bird is that's a completely anomaly, a complete anomaly, all right.
Do you remember Heroes of New Earth?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was such a good design game, but I felt like nobody knew about it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Heroes of New Earth is a perfect example. It was better than League of Legends. And, it was an issue with the developer, just didn't put enough marketing dollars in, didn't, try to build an esport out of it, like a legit esport out of it. And that's what ended up happening.
There's a reason most companies now pay streamers a lot of money to broadcast their game, because getting the game out there and making it just at least visible for people.
I mean, Fortnite's a perfect example. Oh my God. Fortnite, Epic just spent so much money in getting all the PUBG streamers to do it, and then they reached that critical mass. They actually had that tipping point. That what we see now is 500 million or whatever 100 million users there are now.
More concurrent viewers than Steam.
I know, which is crazy. It's insane.
Just got more concurrent players than all the other games in the world.
But
it's so silly. Slight exaggeration, of course.
So definitely marketing plays a big point, but I think that the biggest thing for Artifact that for me that I'm very, very interested to see is just how big the player base is going to be, because that's the strength of Hearthstone. Hearthstone, 100 million just total accounts, at this point. That's a lot. And you only have a small percentage of them playing, concurrently at a time every day. So can Artifact get to even 10 million? I don't know. Are there enough?
I think it will happen because they designed a game that it will be playable on mobile, And as soon as a good game is playable on mobile, the numbers just go up like crazy.
You're gonna pay $20 and then buy stuff on your mobile game? That's a big ask.
I don't know how it's gonna.
Do you know anyone who would play
Artifact
$20 for a mobile game?
Okay,
do you know anyone?
Dude, I played Clash of Clans, Clash Royale. What do you mean?
Okay, but you,
Yeah, but
you
you
are
can
very
play free,
small
right?
subset.
Like you can. Yeah, I mean it's.
All I'm saying is,
I
like,
don't
if someone
think-
looks at $20 next to a mobile game, is what they'll view as like.
What do you think? How will be the payment model on for Diablo Mobile? It will be like 100% pay to win, right? Even though it's a Blizzard game. And
I would
still
hope
be
not,
successful.
but I don't know.
But everyone.
Is that-
No, $20 for a mobile. That's not that much. Like it, to be honest. That's, I think if you're gonna have a successful game, your ARPU is going to be, like higher than $20. So, I wouldn't be surprised, if they are able to do that. But still, it's about volume, right? Like, you still have to have this casual experience, and I just don't feel like Artifact has a casual experience when I play it. Like I don't feel like when I play Artifact, I feel like I have to think. Like I have to like really put, a lot of like, mind power into it when I'm playing it. Where with
It's very
Hearthstone,
reminiscent of early Gwent, isn't it?
yeah, it's kind of like Gwent. I mean, it's even more so, I think. Where with Hearthstone, I can just like be literally doing something at the same time, not really care that much about winning or losing, but still going through the mechanics and you still have that kind of fun experience, right?
I think the biggest issue there is that you've just said it as well, is that like, so obviously fun is subjective, right? Like 100%.
Of course.
And obviously a lot of these players playing Artifact are having fun because they enjoy breaking down a card game and winning, right? A lot of people have fun with Hearthstone because they get to like aim big minions and hit things in the face, right? Cast spells, like cool things. I don't think that type of fun exists in Artifact. I don't think it's a particularly fun game. I think it's fun for people who enjoy unlocking puzzles, which is what like most card game players are like. They want to like break a game and then win as a competitive player. But I feel like for me, Artifact at base level isn't fun to sit down and play. It's just fun to win at. For the average player, by the way, not for people like you, Gaara, of course. Or
it's like playing StarCraft, right? It's like
this is a super good point, because the reason why I play Artifact more than Hearthstone right now, or why I enjoy it more, is because I don't have fun in Hearthstone, and that might be the reason. Maybe because I'm too good at the game, I'm not casual enough. Like for me, it's too frustrating, when I see my opponent draw Kalasev, play Kalasev, and I know, okay, he will win the game because of that. Or he plays Shadowwalk, I play a control deck and I know I will lose. Or he plays Questroke, like that. I know immediately what's gonna happen. Maybe but I'm like a small percentage, like you said, right?
Tiny percentage, yeah.
Right.
Tiny.
So I think the pro scene is going to be, it could definitely see a scenario where the pro scene's better. Like than the HCT and the Hearthstone. I can see a scenario that's like that, but I right now I don't see a scenario where the actual player base is, on the level of a Hearthstone. And I think
I don't think it'd be remotely close.
Yeah, and I think that viewership and success of everything is based on the player base in all of these games. Like we still have yet to see an esport transcend a player base.
But I think that is the case for Artifact right now, because it's so non-marketed right now.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, where is Artifact talked about? Right. It's only, I think, in Steam, on Steam.
Oh yeah, I'm not judging it like based on any empirical data right now. I'm just kind of like, that's my feelings right now as to like I'm very curious to see like how many download sales they have like in the first year, and see what that number ends up being.
I also generally wonder, just because of the way Valve is as a company, because you kind of Dota, funnily enough, is very similar to what I imagine Artifact to be. Like Dota has a large player base, right? But it's not mind blowing. It's not like super crazy, but it's very elitist.
It's like 2030. It's like
2030. I think they just want to make elitist games. Look at CS, Dota, Artifacts. They just want like an elitist form, which is the same with Artifact. I think they'll be happy if they just make enough money from people buying, selling cards, paying for doing all these drafts every day. Like if there's a small player base but paying a lot of money, I think they're happy. I don't think they will care so much
sounds right.
because it's the same thing. I feel like they've applied across other games, or their attitude at least towards some other games.
Would you consider Dota 2 a mainstream game?
No.
This is so interesting.
Yeah,
because
I don't know.
Counter-Strike is right.
Counter-Strike's different. Counter-Strike, yes.
Counter-Strike's weird because it exists in a almost a genre of its own, right? What other games are like Counter-Strike? Because whatever you pick, it won't be true. Rainbow Six is probably the closest.
Yeah, Counter-Strike has a history too. Like,
but League of Legends is mainstream. Dota isn't. Dota's like an elitist.
But Dota is still huge. But it's not kind of mainstream. So it's basically die-hard fans from like Dota 1 and like over the years, all MOBAs.
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of crazy how...
My question is, if you ask someone who plays Dota how many hours they've got, it's always like 8 million. It's never, I've put 60 hours in and it's fun. No one ever says that. It's, I've got 18 million hours of Dota. And you're like, right, well, you really fucking like this game, right? But that's, honestly, I feel like that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
Because, and I think like you look at League of Legends versus Dota, and I feel like it's League of Legends and Dota is going to be very similar to Hearthstone and Artifact. I feel there's definitely an audience. There's definitely the elite side of it, the very hardcore audience, but there isn't the wow. You could ask like a taxi driver, have you heard of League of Legends? They'd be like, oh yeah. Have you heard of World of Warcraft? Oh yeah.
Okay,
have you heard of Artifact? No. Have you heard of Dota? No. You know.
I think this is a very interesting topic because how does then Dota 2 survive or self-sustain? Because it still has like the biggest prize pools by far, and if you compare it to
which is heavily funded by the hardcore players.
Yeah, half of it's funded by the hardcore players, right? So
Gaara, imagine if we lived in a world where Team 5 said, here's a card back that you can buy for $3.
I would never understand why not.
$2.50 of that. Okay. $1 of that goes to a prize pool. You're looking like a 50 million prize pool for Worlds. Garros was stupid. Like, look at HGG.
50 million, but probably like a 5 to 10 million.
Okay, I'm super over exaggerating. But like HGG Cheer made an absurd. I mean, like it blew the estimations out of the water, and it was the reception on it was mind blowing. I can't speak of specifics. But as far as I'm aware, this is only opinion, but there were people at Blizzard who did not think it would do as well as it did. And it actually, because it blew up. There were people in offline chat in Play Hearthstone just go cheer all the time. It was insane. Cool, the numbers were stupid. Cool. They hit the card back thing, which was like the highest. They hit the gold pack unlock. It was just like we weren't really expecting to hit this, so okay. You know, like it was like the numbers were absurd. Like, did Team America make like 10K, and they didn't even make it to BlizzCon? Team America made like 10K.
Stop
each,
talking about that.
I think. Yeah, didn't even make it to the top cut. But yeah, like the numbers were absurd from Cheer, and that's just like what I imagine to be step one. That feels like Team 5 testing the water. And if they do something like that next year,
water though, it's like it's a proven concept. I mean, they don't even need to test it. Like, we all know it works. Everybody's willing to do it, you know. And
I absolutely love the concept. I'm yet to like figure out the downside of it, because there's people that just want to spend a lot of money on the games they like.
You realize when you see it, how many people have large amounts of disposable income.
Guys, just look at the streaming like ecosystem. I mean, yes, there's a ton of people that like give away subs every day and give donations every day, and they could easily be, you know, bumping up
like
price
200
pools.
subs.
They could be going to players, you know, instead.
But I also like that when you design a game like that there's like the hustlers out there. Like, I used to be a hustler myself. That when you are free,
he used to be. He's not
when you are free to play, that you can still make it. I really
Gaara best hustler.
I really like to support it in a game. You know that
Yeah.
when you don't have a lot of money, whatever your background is, that you can still make it. You know, because you put in the work, the time, the effort. I hate that the games are just like for everyone just expensive, you know, like a specific amount. Like Hearthstone is, I think, too expensive right now. How it is,
but
you don't think Artifact is too expensive?
Yes.
I can't say because
they've literally released.
Oh, come on, Gaara, are you serious? I mean, it's clearly going to be expensive. Like,
you can't earn any cards without paying money. You can't go infinite in Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot play for $20. You can pay $20 and play 2 basic decks everyone has for the rest of your life. That's it. It's as cheap as it ever is going to get. $20 minimum, and
Yeah,
then you don't get any new cards.
But I spend like more than 500 on Hearthstone every.
You don't have to.
No, nobody's talking about. I mean, nobody's talking like so. Hearthstone, yeah, Hearthstone's not cheap either, but Artifact definitely is not cheaper. It's definitely not cheaper, and.
But I was like more speaking like generally, like games like League of Legends or whatever. You could just play free to play and be very, very good.
Sure,
like very good. Spend thousands of hours and make it. But there's people that just can buy all the skins for like hundreds of dollars and still enjoy it. You know, the company makes a lot of money, but you kind of support both directions of players. And I think every game should be designed that way.
Yeah, but Artifact's not though. Artifact doesn't have
I know.
virtual currency.
I'm not saying that
yeah, Artifact has no virtual currency. Yeah, so they should introduce that, like in my opinion. But you know, like I think that if they don't, and here's the thing, guys, digital card games, it's not any other video game. So like we should need to just stop doing that. Stop comparing to a $60 game that you get everything in it and blah, 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 blah. Because this is not what we're talking about. You know, like this is just a more expensive game. And if you want to think of it in terms of like you investing all this money into it too, then sure, you know, think of it that way, whatever, you know. But in the end, it's a different ecosystem. So
funnily enough, I think people would enjoy Hearthstone less if you paid $60 and unlocked all the cards. People really like building collections.
And
collecting cards. That's what we all used to do as kids or whatever, right? Like people like collecting and growing a collection of things and unlocking stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm going to call out 12 months. There's going to be a free option in Artifact. 12 months.
Maybe
sooner, actually. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think way sooner than that.
I don't know. I think they're going to be stubborn. But 12 months.
All right.
That's my number.
Okay, one more question, guys, and then we gotta call it here. I gotta actually take off here in 15 minutes. So, John H, should Team 5 add an offer draw button to the client? Many game states are predictably unwinnable for either player, and this would be a quality of life improvement.
We've talked about this a lot. So my understanding is almost like reveal hand button. So
oh my god, really?
So Admirable talks about this a lot because for example, like a lot of the time he'll be like, say you're playing Zoo and your hands 1-drop Keleseth, Chain Gang, you know what I mean, like you're gonna happy ghoul them to death, right? He talks a lot about there being a button where you just go, look at my hand, bro, you know, like you're dead, you know, or if there's like for example you've got a combo where you can't lose, right, but you can't play the combo yet but you've got it. And people play out these, especially late control matchups, that for that chance that Shudderwock whiffs, or you know things similar-ish, where it's like I've got to play this in case something goes terribly wrong for my opponent, in case they whatever. Whereas if they could just show you the hand and be like, "You're dead," just concede and speed up everyone's day. I think it's a funny idea. I wouldn't mind it because you don't have to.
As long as you couldn't accidentally do that very easily, why not? Right?
Right. You'd have to like commit to it.
You have to be able to squelch someone as well, so you can't do it.
Yeah.
So
it needs to be in a very taunting way. Just quit, dude. It needs to be an emote that says, just quit. And then you show your hand to them.
Yeah. It'd have to be like a button you'd have to hold where it like loads fully up before it shows the thing. But it would be cool. Like I don't see why not. Because it would speed up some of these games where you know your opponent's playing to hopefully do something.
So he's actually wording it as offer draw, though. It shouldn't be an offer draw. It shouldn't be an offer draw.
No, I don't want draws.
Yeah, his second sentence talks about what you're talking about, but I feel like his first one is like offer draw. And it's like we don't get into very many draw scenarios, so I don't feel like that.
You shouldn't live your life to trying to draw. You don't play to not lose. You play to win. That's how you should live your life. Exactly. That's Raven advice. I've just got to try and take my own advice sometimes.
Offer draw is such a weird option as well.
Yeah, but you know what? This is like one problem I have with Clash of Clans, like a lot. Clash Royale, is that draws happen all the freaking time in Clash Royale, or at least compared to other games. And draw for me is like such a design.
I'd rather
flaw.
lose.
It's a design flaw, in my opinion, and so. Like, I don't know how it could be such a major part in such a popular game. Like, they clearly leave it in there on purpose. And it's just like, man, I don't see how you design a competitive game to have a draw be, even 10% of the time, or even 5 to 10% of the time, I think is like bad. So it just shocks me. It always shocks me every time I'm watching somebody play Clash Royale and they're like, oh yeah, I ended up drawing. I'm just trying to draw right now. It's
So
like,
imagine
what?
so here's an instance where it could work, right? So like imagine if you could reveal singular cards, as many cards as you want from your hand, right? Your opponent's playing like Togwaggle and they're trying to switch your deck before you Shudderwock. And then you just show them you have Shudderwock and you've played the rest of the combo. You're like, dude, just concede. You're dead, right? Just concede. But it'd be funny if you could just reveal one card, because I would just definitely just reveal random singular cards at random points in the game, just to be like, I've got a Kobold Librarian, and they're like, what the fuck does that even mean? Why is it doing this? I just to like mentally throw them off. Like, why is he showing me this 1-mana 2/1? Like, what's this?
That's why I want players to be able to talk to each other, man. I want them to be, hey, I've got this guy. I've got this.
Have you heard about that in Artifact as well? Players are going to be able to freely talk to each other.
That's good.
And it's not being moderated in any way.
Okay, that's bad.
Because they've said, we don't believe that in a 1v1 circumstance, players will have any reason to be rude to each other.
My
have you heard of any online game ever made?
Okay,
so
that's
they've
terrible.
openly said they are not moderating it at all.
That's good luck with that on air. Good luck with that with your sponsors too.
Yeah. Suddenly the Hearthstone emote system doesn't look so bad, does it?
Oh man. Okay, so that's not a good idea. But given if it is a controlled environment, then allowing them to talk to each other is a good thing. All right, well, I think that's going to be it. I don't think we have enough time to do any more questions. We talked a long time about Artifact and the tournament, as well as just some of the other stuff. So, Raven, thanks for coming on. I knew it was going to be a great discussion with you, always is. So, go Hearthstone.
Yeah, I get to be critical, but no, I will say, just as a quick summary, I hope Artifact gets good. I hope the broadcasts get better. I don't want to see bad tournaments of anything, right? Like, I like watching loads of stuff. So, although I sound very critical, it's because I just want stuff to get better. So
I'm hearing Valve hire me for Artifact whenever it does get better. Maybe on my off.
Nope. I'm very happy casting Hearthstone.
Okay, there we go. You want to do any shout outs before you take off?
No, just the usual. I'm actually don't have anything particularly lined up over the next month or so over Christmas. Because I actually just want to stay at home with family and stuff. It'll be pretty cool. Done a lot of traveling last few weeks, but yeah, just follow me, Ravencast. You can see it.
Nice.
Bad at this. There, boom. Yeah, took me 5 minutes, but I got there. And then I do stream, but it's been a bit wishy-washy while I try and sort out some kind of schedule, but it's kind of wonky at the moment. But I just stream Raven HS, so the usual stuff. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Nice. Gaara?
Shout out to Raven for being on the show. Always fun to have the British people on the show. They're very emotional.
We'll play some Blackout soon again, Gaara.
Yeah.
We'll be friends again.
We'll be friends.
And shout out to, if you want to learn more about Artifact, I just uploaded a 1-hour-long video on my YouTube channel about the fundamentals of Artifact. If you want to check that out. And yeah, that's
What's your YouTube channel again?
Twitch TV Gaara Shaman on Twitch and on YouTube. So
right. Cool. Yeah, definitely check that out. Definitely these intro videos are very necessary, like before you watch some of the broadcasts.
That's definitely what I learned last weekend.
You got to understand the game. I mean, that's first and foremost. So anyways, I would thank the two of you guys for doing the show, all of you guys for watching and bearing, through us. And I know a lot of folks that listen don't necessarily want to hear that much about Artifact, but I hope it was at least in the context of how, comparing it to
and it wasn't like that many
things.
crazy news about Hearthstone. So
it was kind of a slower week anyways, but we'll have some more cards to talk about next week. But you can check out the show on all the normal channels, youtube.com/HSReplay.net, as well as all the audio channels, so iTunes and Google Play. Let me know, guys, if you have any issues with Google Play. I had a few people have problems with it not updating on Google Play. If that ever happens, guys, just unsubscribe and subscribe again to the feed, and it usually fixes the problem. But you can catch us on Spotify as well as soundcloud.com/ChanmanV too. So definitely check that out. And I think that's gonna be it, guys. We're gonna be back next week, And you know, I don't know if Raven's gonna be back, but definitely me and Gar will be back. So for Raven,
Worst
Gara,
case, I'll be in chat.
and myself, yep, ChanmanV, we'll see you next week.